Hats and Bitcoin all day long. All right, guys, welcome back to Black Cat Crypto Club. My name is Drake. We are going to get into Bitcoin again today, and a subject that I've very slightly touched on in the past, and that is this psychological barrier of having to own a whole Bitcoin. So we're going to get into that. We're going to get into what a Satillionaire is and how you can become one. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about Satoshi Nakamoto and some things surrounding this whole conversation. So make sure you stick around. Also, if you have not yet helped out the animals at Emery Farm, please jump over and donate a few bucks to them. These guys do not need a whole lot to really help these animals. A couple bucks really is all that's needed to help these animals out. So go over their PayPal, their Cash App, their Venmo, all of that and more is listed in the description of the video. So go over and help them out. I also am doing that raffle at the end of the month. So every $5 you donate, take a snap of that and send it over to me at DrakeP269, either on Twitter, Threads, or Instagram, and I will make sure to get you in that raffle. So, with all of that said, let's get into it. What is a Satillionaire? Quite frankly, it's a word that I kind of made up. But it goes back to a conversation I was having with a friend a few months ago, and we were talking, and he was saying how it's his goal. He needs to get to 1 Bitcoin, and he pretty much has a Bitcoin if you count all the other coins that he's got and everything, but it's his goal to get to 1 Bitcoin. And I kind of said, it doesn't even matter, honestly. And it kind of doesn't. I mean, it does. If you can get to 1 Bitcoin, awesome. Do it. Get to it. But in a big way, it really doesn't matter, because what I was saying to him was, 10, 12 years ago when I got into Bitcoin, I remember sitting in the Salt Lake City airport on my way to Mexico for vacation, and I was sitting in the airport waiting for my plane and buying Bitcoin at $77. I distinctly remember it. So just crazy. Back then, if you came up to me and said, people will be, a term whole coiner will be a thing, and a lot of people will be trying to get a whole coin, I probably would have believed you, but it still, even now, is kind of hard for me to wrap my mind around that, because, for so long, with me being in Bitcoin for so long, if you came up and said to anybody, oh, I'm a whole coiner, I have a whole Bitcoin, it wouldn't have been a flex. Okay, $77. Oh, cool, man. That's awesome. And it's just been the last few years that this term whole coiner has come into existence. And so what I was telling my friend was, it doesn't even matter if you get to a whole coin, because here in a few years, it's going to be Satillionaire. You're going to be trying to become a Satillionaire. And what a Satillionaire, in my definition, is if you own 1 million Satoshis. And there's 100 million Satoshis in 1 Bitcoin. And it's all the same, guys. It's just a matter of where the decimal point is, right? So don't go on to Coinbase and search for Satoshis thinking it's a different coin or anything. It's all Bitcoin. It's just where the decimal point is. So 0.01 Bitcoin is 1 million Satoshis. Okay. So yeah, I was telling my friend, in the future, people are going to be striving to become Satillionaires. And we kind of laughed about it. And then not too long after that, half coiner became a term. And people were striving to become a half a coiner with 0.5 Bitcoin. And it's just going to keep going like that, guys. In the future, I guarantee that we are going to see either Satillionaire or Satoshinaire or something along those lines. It is going to become a thing where 100 or where 1,000,000 or Satoshis is going to be like this sought after thing. And it's going to become a flex. Oh, I'm a Satillionaire, man. Cool, cool. And it'll be kind of weird to all of us that are getting into Bitcoin now. But anyways, guys, there has actually been some emails from Satoshi that have never been seen before. This happened actually a while ago. It was about a month ago or so, but he talked specifically in these emails about what we're talking about right now. And the only reason these emails kind of came about was Craig Wright, major, excuse the language, but major douchebag, came forward and he claims that he is Satoshi Nakamoto and is trying to sue anybody that has Bitcoin white paper on their website and is claiming that it's his intellectual property and that they need to take it off their website. And Bitcoin's not a free open source code thing anymore. It's his property. Just major douche. But he's actually taken some people to court, and in one of these court hearings, these new emails that were between, they're not new in the sense that Satoshi didn't come out of the woodwork and start sending emails again or anything, but one of the founding participants in the Bitcoin ecosystem when it first came on the scenes was emailing back and forth with Satoshi, and none of these emails had ever been read other than by him. So they kind of surfaced in these court cases because the court was trying to decipher whether Craig Wright was full of shit, which he is. Sorry again for the language, but the guy makes my blood boil a little bit. Anyways, like if somebody coming out and suing somebody for the property rights of Bitcoin's white paper, if that doesn't tell you you're a fraud, I mean, anyways, guys. So anyways, these emails came through in this court hearing, and I read through these emails about a month ago, I believe, is when this happened. I read through the emails, and there was a lot of interesting stuff in these emails, but one big thing, it kind of surrounds this whole Satillionaire and this psychological barrier that some people have about Bitcoin right now. It's like Bitcoin's $70,000. Oh man, I can't afford it. No, you can afford it. Just buy 0.01 Bitcoin and you're a Satillionaire. Anyways, Satoshi in these emails said, you know, basically the same thing that we're kind of talking about is he said, I don't know what Bitcoin's going to do in the future. 21 million isn't a lot of something, right? Like when you consider the entire world and an entire economy, 21 million isn't a lot. And what he said was, you know, if Bitcoin in the future gets to be so big that it becomes this psychological barrier, all we have to do is we just need to move that decimal point to the right, however far. And one other interesting thing, he when he was talking about this, he often talked about the euro, which is interesting. We'll talk about that in a minute. But basically what he said was, we just need to move the decimal point over. And I don't know if we see that happen, because I think for that to happen, it would take quite a bit with all the miners and everything. But also, if you think about the market charts, it would cause a lot of trouble on the market charts, because all of a sudden Bitcoin would have gone from whatever, like we're at 70,000 now, and all of a sudden it would be down to like $7. So it would cause a big thing with the charts. It'd look basically like Bitcoin died on the charts. So I don't know how that would all work out, but probably what's going to happen is, instead of talking about whole Bitcoins, we're going to start talking more and more and more in Satoshis, is probably where it's going to go. But it's interesting that clear back in 2008, 2009, Satoshi was already thinking about this and basically said, we just need to move the decimal point, which wouldn't change anything about Bitcoin itself. If I had a whole coin today and we moved the decimal point 3 points to the right, I'd have 1,000 Bitcoin, but that 1,000 Bitcoin wouldn't be worth more than the 1 Bitcoin before we moved the decimal point, right? It'd still be worth $70,000, right? Today, about. So, and what it would do is it'd make a $7 Bitcoin again, so people wouldn't feel so, have this weird thing about, oh, I can't afford $70,000. Now, the other thing I was talking about, where Satoshi was talking about the euro, the reason that's interesting, at least to me, is because a lot of the times we kind of think of Satoshi as an American. And the reason for that, one reason for that, is that a lot of people have thought that it was one of the early cypherpunks that worked on privacy and encryption. And, Hal Finney, for example, Hal Finney was a early cypherpunk. He was the first person, he was involved in the first Bitcoin transaction. So Satoshi sent Hal Finney the first Bitcoin transaction. And so a lot of people kind of thought, well, Hal Finney was a cypherpunk. He obviously had coding experience. He, and if I was building Bitcoin, this new weird thing called Bitcoin, I would probably test it out by sending Bitcoin to myself. So a lot of people thought it was Hal Finney. Very well, maybe could have been. But it doesn't really matter anymore. Hal Finney died in 2014. Poor guy suffered from ALS and died in 2014. But whoever Satoshi was, he was smart, and he took off. No more. He, she, them, whoever it was, decided, they were done. They were leaving this thing, and they were leaving it to the world. And probably very smart, because Satoshi seemingly was pretty afraid of the CIA, and probably rightfully so, because what the CIA would have done to sabotage this project, who knows. The interesting thing is that Satoshi disappeared shortly before it came out that one of the early participants in the Bitcoin system was going to speak to the CIA about Bitcoin. And I don't think this person had any evil, bad intent. He was just asked by the CIA to come explain this Bitcoin thing to him. And so he came out and said to everybody that was involved in the whole thing that, hey, I've been asked to talk with the CIA. I'm going to do it because I think in his mind, he hoped that he could explain it to him in a way that wouldn't make them so hostile against it. But after he emailed Satoshi and told him that he was going to talk with the CIA about it, we never heard from Satoshi ever again after that. So kind of ominous, right? Maybe the CIA caught up with him and did something. I don't know, guys. It would be really interesting to see a really well done documentary about Satoshi Nakamoto, but probably more than likely, Satoshi just realized the danger and split. So anyways, it's good anyways, because we don't need him. A lot of people would like to shake his hand and thank him. There would be a lot of fame and notoriety for anybody who came forward as Satoshi. But I think Satoshi, the real Satoshi, would recognize the danger in doing that as well. That's why Craig Wright is not Satoshi Nakamoto. I'm sorry to say, but not the one. But the real Satoshi would have recognized the danger in that there are probably a lot of really wealthy, really powerful people that kind of have a grudge to pick with that guy. So guy, lady, them, the group, whoever Satoshi was. So yeah, that's the thing about Satoshi. It's just interesting to know that he was thinking about the decimal points clear back then. Interesting to see new emails come forward about Satoshi. But guys, become a Satillionaire. It will be a thing. I can guarantee it. Maybe not that word, but something very much along those lines will be used. And it's going to be weird for all of us here now that said, yeah, I bought in. I became a Satillionaire for $700. That's what it would cost you today to become a Satillionaire. And who knows when this will happen? Probably, I don't know, 5-10 years from now, being a Satillionaire may be the flex. So anyways, that's the video today. I just wanted to get on and encourage you guys to at least get to that 0.01 Bitcoin worth of Bitcoin, because it will become a thing. And I hate to think about people not taking advantage of what's coming just because they can't own a $70,000 whole Bitcoin. It doesn't matter. So anyways, guys, I will see you in the next video. Bye.